Shout out to Evan for letting me know that I wasn't recording. And I always like to record these sessions because there are people who aren't always able to tune in. So I'm going to start over. So if you've been tuning in, you get to hear it again. But I just want to talk to you a little bit today about succession planning and why it's important. I know you may be thinking that it's not, but it's huge and it's very important, particularly if you have a family owned business or a small business. And a lot of small businesses are family owned. And later on in the show, I'm going to actually share with you some statistics about um, family owned businesses and how significant they are to the employment statistics, as well as to just the economy overall and what happens to them. But let's start off by talking about what a succession plan is. A succession plan is really simple. You may be thinking that, oh, it's a whole lot. It's simply you identifying and developing people within your organization to potentially fill important leadership roles. Simple. Now, as a small business, you might think, I don't need it, but you're absolutely wrong. Now, unless your exit strategy is to eventually sell your business, and there are some people who that's what they want to do. They just want to grow the business and sell it to us, grow it to a certain point and sell it. And that's fine. You still need a succession plan. So why do you need a succession plan? What happens if you fall ill and can't run your business? Or if you, God forbid, pass away. If you die, what happens to your business? Who keeps your business and your vision going? Now, you may be thinking, I'm the pillar of perfect health. That's not going to happen to me. It happens all the time. It happens every day. I have a colleague who passed away years ago, and everybody was shocked because this guy was like the pillar of perfect health. He ate right. He exercised. He had 7% body fat. Nobody saw it coming. Heart attack, drop dead, gone. Been married. I think he had been married like 2 years, maybe. I mean, it was just amazing. We didn't even expect it. Imagine if he had a business. What would have happened if he didn't have a succession plan in place? Things happen to people all the time. People have accidents, car accidents, all kinds of crazy stuff happens every day. So that's why it's important for you to have a succession plan. You want to keep your dream going. Um, so there are some benefits of succession planning. For one, it ensures you have a continuous supply of qualified, motivated people who are prepared to take over these key leadership roles within the company, whether they leave or are promoted within the company. Now, what does all that mean? Basically, it means you always have the best people rotating in and throughout your company. By having a succession plan, you are demonstrating to your employees and potential employees that there are opportunities for advancement. That is very, very attractive. And it makes you as an employer competitive because now everybody wants to buy to come work for you. Why? Because there's a clear career path for me. That's attractive. People want to know that there's something available to them down the road. And there are a lot of people who like to get in on the ground up to see where something blossoms and grows. Look at some of these tech companies and startups and what happened. Google, Facebook, people got in on the bottom and worked up to see how it grew because there was a clear career path and they believed in what was available. This is a huge boost to your company's reputation because now everybody internally and externally gets the message that this is a company that cares about their people and they value every single employee, whether they're new to the company or even thinking about coming to the company, because they're thinking long term into the future of what we can do to make us more attractive to everyone else. That's very, very important, along with benefits, but that's very, very important. So you may be wondering how you go about implementing a succession plan. First, you have to have certain things in place. The first thing you need to do is know what everyone does, especially key leadership positions. What does your vice president do? What does the CEO do? What does the finance person do? What does the tech person do? Your information officer does. What does the human resource person? You may see, these may seem very simple, and it may seem, I mean, really, really simple, but you will be surprised of how many people out there start a business and don't have these infrastructure, these basic things in place. Without them, it's going to be very hard for you to have a succession plan or even to begin a succession plan because you don't know what everybody does. This, by knowing what everybody does, you can put your procedural manuals, can't talk today, manuals in place. If you don't have manuals in place, this is a good time to start. Okay. It's real simple. Just take some time. I don't care if it's 10 minutes a day. Start with one position at a time and figure out what everybody does. We live in the age of Google now. You can go out there and pretty much Google job descriptions and get just basic job descriptions and then look at, does this fit my company, and make adjustments accordingly. Do whatever you, I'm not saying plagiarize, but I'm saying do what you need to do to kind of jumpstart your mind on who does what, and then start thinking about your individual, your respective procedures and how your business works and what you do. And make sure you have those things written down, and it's got to be detailed, and I'm talking step by step. You want to think about the knowledge, skills, and abilities people need to fill these roles. It's not about personality, because some people are very good. They have great personalities, but they are piss poor employees. I'll give you a perfect example. I have a colleague who hired this gentleman, had an excellent resume, came highly recommended, worked for a prominent company, very well known. And so here she's thinking, I've got a good guy that's going to come on with sales and I'll, pay him a salary and this. And he wasn't worth half the salt that his resume said or even his references shared. It was really embarrassing. He had great personality. He could sell himself really well. But when it came to fulfilling the roles, on paper, it looked like he was the right person. But in reality, he was not. And so he had a great personality, fit the perfect sales model of who you would go out to, because he had energy and he could identify with people and, develop those relationships. And based off of what he said on his resume and what his references said, he was the right person. But when the rubber met the road, he wasn't. So what am I saying? You got to be willing to dig deep and know exactly what you're looking for in someone to fill these roles. And know that somebody may be great in one area, but fall short in another. And that's information that you need, because maybe the role that they want isn't the role that's best for them. Perhaps they're better suited in another position. Think about the future. You want to think about how much innovation and creativity you will need to sustain your business. The world is changing. The global marketplace is there. It's there for the taking. And so one of the things you want to do is always keep your mission first. It should always be like right there. And then think about any strategic priorities you have. What's your strategic plan? And keep that in front of you and start chucking away at who's going to be the best person that's going to help us get here. And then who's going to be able to help us get to the next level of strategic priorities? Because once we fulfill this, do they have the vision to come up with the next set? Or is there someone else that we need? And so these are some of the things you want to think about. When it comes to succession planning, you always, always, always want to be on the hunt for people who will succeed key roles within your company. Here's what some people do, and this is where they fall short in succession planning. They wait till people leave. And that is not the right thing to do when it comes to succession planning. Okay. You need to know if somebody's going to vacate their position. In essence, what I'm saying is plan ahead. If you even think a key leader is going to leave or is thinking about leaving, start looking. But I would encourage you to have an open conversation with that person to find out why they're thinking about leaving, or, what are they happy? What's going on, so that you as a company can build. One of the things I admire about Google was they found out, they wanted to know why they had high turnover among women. And so they dug deep. They wanted to find, they were on the hunt for the information. They wanted to know why women were leaving, and they found out it was something simple that they could fix. when it came to their maternity leave. Fixed it. They put in something new, fixed the problem. Now their turnover among women is lower. What am I saying? Sometimes a lot of things can be fixed with just open conversation. Just find out what people need, what they're asking for, what they're looking for. And there are some things that, based off of it, may be something personal that you can't address. Maybe it could be something so simple as they need to work from home a couple of days. Depending on the role and position, you may be able to make that work. Otherwise, there's some things that may not be beneficial, and that it's just not fixable, and that's okay. But don't wait until the person leaves. You start looking for a plan now. Find out if they even have a recommendation. Have you had your eye on anyone within the company that may be fit to groom for your position? That's always good. There's a lot involved with succession planning, but at the end of the day, you have to be prepared. This means ensuring that all of your policies and procedures are up to date. As your company grows, you're going to add responsibilities, and sometimes you're going to add positions which will split off roles and responsibilities. So this person is only focusing on this, where they used to do two things, they only do one thing. And now this person is doing that. You want to keep your records up to date. Another thing you need to have is a strong strategic partnership with your human resources department. Now, in small businesses, a lot of you are HR. I will caution you that if HR is too much for you to handle, think about outsourcing it. I know that may be an additional expense, but what is the cost to you long term to spend time or to ignore these things and have to backtrack and redo it later on? So think about the cost and weigh it for yourself, because time is money. And what you don't want to do is waste time waiting and waiting and waiting until the last minute, and you need it and you're scrambling, and you could potentially lose clients, customers, and that turns into revenue. So you want to think about possibly outsourcing your HR, and that's okay, or even bringing in a consultant and hiring a consultant to help you with your succession plan. And once you have a succession plan in place, it's real simple to implement it, but a lot of the legwork it takes time. And you may want to just say, you know what, maybe this is something I need to hire someone to come in and help me with, so that I can at least have that in place. And that's okay. That's what consultants are for. But whatever you do, do not leave your business to chance. Have a plan in place in the event of that something untimely happens to you. So what are some examples of some succession plans? And I want to share with you two. And I purposely picked these two because these are industries that we don't think about. We often, I know as consumers, take them for granted. But they're important to our overall livelihood as human beings, and that's farmers. And so I want to talk to you first about Gene Bay. Mr. Bays is 89 years old, and he recently completed a succession plan for his farm in Patterson, California. Now, at 89, Mr. Bays has been farming for a long time, and we're talking decades. And now, finally, his ranch, Bays Ranch, which, if you don't know, it is one of the largest processed apricot orchards, or orchards, if you prefer, in California. Now he's legally incorporated his ranch. And in doing so, part of his succession plan was to separate the farming operation, which is the day to day, from the family's land ownership. So that's huge, because now there's a clear path of what's going to happen in the future with the day-to-day operations. And now we don't have to worry about losing the family land, which is that's now part of their legacy, and it keeps going. So there's something in place now. Let's look at what happened with Brad Christmas in New Mexico. He has a cattle ranch. This man has a 6,200 acre cattle ranch that has been in his family since 1948. And the sad thing that happened with him was he ended up in a legal battle with two of his sisters. His father started the ranch. again, like I said, back in 1948, but his father died of a sudden heart attack. And as soon as his father died, that's when he and his sisters started to argue and disagree over what would happen to the family business. And then eventually it turned into a lawsuit when his sisters filed against him in 2004. Now, as a result, of course, that broke the family. He settled with his sisters for ownership of the ranch, but what did it cost him? This is what you want to think about when you have a succession plan, because I'm sure his father didn't think that he was going to die, and he didn't think that his children would argue and get to the point where they're in court about the family business. But thank you, Evan. But this is what happened. I'm sure he didn't think that this would happen, but it did. And so this is what you want to think about. Let me share with you some statistics, because you may be thinking that this is not uncommon, but these situations, like what happened with these two particular farms, are not uncommon. According to the Family Business Institute, which is a North Carolina based firm, only 30% of family businesses last into the second generation, 12% survive into the third, and 3% into the fourth generation and beyond. These are horrible statistics. And why? Why do you want to leave your business to chance? Especially when Ernst & Young estimates that family businesses account for more than two-thirds of all companies around the world, and 50 to 80% in most countries. Think about that. Family-owned businesses, they are basically generating so much employment around the world. That's huge. That's really, really huge. And so you want to think about these things, because you don't want to leave your business to chance. You don't want to, wake up one day and realize that, okay, wait, I'm in a legal battle with my siblings. I don't think my father would have thought about this. And I'm sure that this man, when he, Mr. Christmas, when everything happened and was looking to take over, just step up and take over where his father left off, I'm sure he didn't think that he would be in a battle with his sisters. He probably thought, like his father thought, oh, my kids are just going to take over and it's going to be great. When we can't assume that children always want to pick up where things left off. I have a colleague who, she has clients who struggle to find people to run a massive, and I mean a massive multi-million dollar business, when the founder of the business fell ill and was unable to run the company, and then he eventually died. Now they make a product, a particular fiber that we see in products all over the world, and they had no one at the helm, and no one, not children or grandchildren, were interested in running the company. So the potential was sell the company or go on the hunt for a CEO and someone else to help manage and run the company. I think eventually, either the son and maybe the grandson decided to step up because no one else would, and they realized the potential loss to the family, and they thought futuristic. I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but they're doing it for now. So who knows what's going to happen, but I use that as an example so you understand the importance, because it's not just you at risk, but you also have your employees and everyone else who who are invested in the company and their success long term. So this is just a few things about succession planning that I wanted to share with you today. Just a brief blab. It's not as long as I normally do, but just wanted to share with you the importance of succession planning and what you need to do to make sure that your vision, your future, your baby, your business continues to go long after you're done, long after you decided to move on, or if something, God forbid, happens to you. I know I talked earlier about an exit strategy, and maybe that's something I will talk about in the next episode next week, on what your plan plan should be, or what kind of plan to have for your business long term, or thinking long term. So we'll see what we talk about next week. I thank you for your time. Appreciate you for tuning in. This is Dr. H. You're on the mic. Have a great day.